Let's talk Bitcoin listeners. It's now time for The Startup. The Startup is a show featuring the founders of new companies. We want to discover how they took an idea and transformed it into a marketable product or service. Starting a business is challenging and rewarding. Our goal is to gain insight into the mind of entrepreneurs on their journey to success. Well, welcome to today's show. On this show, we feature several guests. Shaban Shaame of EverdreamSoft, the developer of the Spells of Genesis game. Robert Ross, the founder of foldingcoin.net. And Nicola Minichiello of vanbix.com. Welcome to the Startup, guys. I'd like for each of you to introduce yourselves, starting with Shaban.
Hello, this is Shaban Shaame from EverdreamSoft. I'm the founder of the company and the producer of Spells of Genesis game.
Hello, everyone. Robert Ross. I'm the founder and director of Folding Coin Inc.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nick, and I'm a project manager for vanbix, and we do marketing and PR for crypto projects.
Thank you. I've seen a lot of interest around the Spell of Genesis project, particularly with the crowd sale. We're going to start with Shaban with a few questions. Shaban, how did you get started producing video games?
I started making games when I was a child, when I was very young. And I produced my first, I will say, commercial game, a game that I shared to people on internet when I was on high school, and that was the first version of Munga back in 2004, 2005. Then after that, I did my university studies, and the mobile phones, smartphone came out. And I decided to create a company, continue to work on top of Munga. That was an amateur project to make it professional and to release it on mobile.
Okay. And so are you a programmer?
Yes, I do program, and I started when I was young. So I developed the game. I wrote the code myself and do the designs at the beginning. And I studied business and computer. So I have a background in business, marketing, and also computer. And after that, when I started the company EverdreamSoft, I moved more over management side. And now I do not program as much as before.
Okay, thank you. You've been developing games since you were young. What made you decide to actually take this full time and create a company around it?
When I started, I really saw a big opportunity over mobile smartphone. It was the iPhone. It was very new. And the App Store was not out yet, but I really thought the mobile would become something very used, and especially for games. At that time, people didn't play games on their smartphone except for Snake or some rare thing. But I thought that there was a big opportunity, so I decided to make a product on mobile. And at that time, it was inconceivable people will spend any money on a game on their mobile phone. But I took the bet that it would change, and it did change, actually.
Okay, that's great. Were you first released on iOS or Android? And I guess you said you started in 2004. So what platform did Munga release on at that time?
So in 2004, it was on the web, a web game in PHP, static. And in 2009, when I started Munga on mobile, I took back the code, the server-side code of Munga, and I programmed an iOS version on top as a client using the same old server that I started. And still today, there is still some codes running on Munga that I wrote like 10 to 15 years ago.
Okay, wow, that's great. So now tell me a little bit about how the creation of EverdreamSoft came about.
So when I started working on mobile technology, I had an opportunity to work with my company. I presented the project Munga to the company I was working for, and they were interested. But the company was a startup, didn't survive the 2008 crisis, and I decided to uh, take the opportunity to develop the game myself then and create a company around it. So I started small. It was just me and some people helping me here and there. Then we got some investor who really liked what we were doing and who believed in the vision. And then after that, it started growing a little bit, employing other people, designers, and to improve the product. And that's the way it started, actually.
Okay. You said you had a few of the people that were just helping you out were they were not paid, they were just donating their time, and then at some point they became contractors for you or employees.
Yes, some of them became employees. Some of them find other routes. So there was different profile and different people that I collaborate. Some became just fans, or so it depends. But some of them became employees to EverdreamSoft.
Okay. Your team at EverdreamSoft now consists of who?
So now we have one marketing manager, we have one developer, we have one person who do the administration and also design and website. We have external contractors as well. Koji in Tokyo, who collaborate on Spells of Genesis, since Japan is an important market for us and for game in general. And we have a game designer in Utrecht, near Amsterdam. And we have a community manager in France.
Okay, great. I also saw on your website that you offer other services other than game development. Can you go into what those are?
Yes, we are specialized since the beginning. Our DNA is innovation. So we like working on exciting products that not a few people are on. And we are working, we are hired for several projects when it comes to innovation or mobile development. So we do also some other projects locally, since some people know about us and contact us and say, "Hey, you know to do that? Can you develop an app?" So this way, we strengthen our development skills and knowledge on mobile development.
Okay, that's good. Okay, now on to the Spells of Genesis game. Can you give the audience an idea? What is the concept of the game?
Yeah, Spells of Genesis is a new game that we're developing. Our first game is Munga. Munga is a card game. It's hardcore, if I can say, a hardcore card game. So for players who are hardcore gamers. Spells of Genesis is going a little bit more casual to mid-core, if I can say. Um, it's designed to be very entertaining, adding some arcade feature, something that you can just pick the game and just trying to just shooting the enemies and play very easily. So this is the casual part, the arcade part, and the goal was to have a game that my mother could play, because she always told me, "Oh, I don't understand anything on Munga." So we wanted to add a game in our catalog that it has the power and the opportunity to bring a good mass of player, but with keeping a strategic aspect. So Spells of Genesis is arcade, so it's easy to take on. But when you start going deeper on the level, on the difficulty, you'll find out that some characters have strengths, like water is strengths against fire. And you'll find out that all your characters are very different and have different powers. So you have to choose wisely. And this is the deck management and RPG part, if I can say. So a game that is casual, easy to take on, but has a high depth strategy in it.
Well, that's good. Well, that leads us into a good segue into asking a few questions of Robert. So, Robert, you say that you're an avid trading card player. Can you talk a bit about your experience and just the general interest and how you got involved with trading card games? Myself, I'm not a gamer, and so I really don't understand the interest in that particular area. So help me out with that, please.
Sure, absolutely. So I've been a Magic the Gathering player for about 15 years, and my interest has just kind of always been in those kind of games, whether it be Dungeons and Dragons, Skyrim, Magic the Gathering, you know, all those nerd games. I just eat them up. I love them. And people in that kind of community that I'm in, you know, we're willing to pay top dollars for games like that because, you know, there's a lower demand in general in the mainstream because, you know, not a lot of people play Magic. So that means that the cards are more valuable because they're a little bit harder to get because not as many people are playing it and people are willing to spend money for them. And the thing that really attracted me about Spells of Genesis is it has a lot of superior advantages to a traditional trading card game to where you have physical cards. One of them, and this is probably my favorite one, even though it's not even necessarily useful to the game itself, is that the cards don't lose value due to like conditional variables. So like what I mean by that is I have a bunch of Magic cards that have like a tiny little scratch on them, and that just depletes their value. I mean, a card that's worth $100 with a scratch on it now is only worth $10. With digital assets, you don't have that because there's no way I can actually damage the asset. It's just I have it. So that's one of the big things that traders will really like is these don't lose value. Another thing that I really like is the ability to compete in online tournaments. Now, Magic the Gathering, they released Magic the Gathering online a couple years back, and it wasn't as successful as they would have hoped it to be because, you know, I've been playing Magic for 15 years, so all the cards that I've been accumulating, I can't use online. It's a separate deck of cards that you have to buy. So Magic players didn't really like that as much because, you know, we've been spending years collecting these cards, and now all of a sudden to play online, we have to buy a brand new set. And the reason why they couldn't just, you know, say, hey, you have card XYZ, and now you're online, so now we'll give you card XYZ online, is that there's no real way to verify if I have a card or not in a physical form. As for with Spells of Genesis, you just have the digital asset. So it's really cool because, you know, people like me, I don't travel a lot, and you know, I don't have the money to really go to these tournaments that are in like California or New York or things like that. So I compete in Indianapolis tournaments, but you know, that's not the big tournaments that you can win top dollars or that, you know, you get like, they're not like world championships or anything like that. So with Spells of Genesis and with Moonga, you know, this creates the opportunity to have the potential to do online tournaments to where everybody can compete regardless of where they are in the world. So another cool thing that I like about a digital asset in comparison to a physical one is the ability to trade with people instantaneously and not really have to go through card shops. You know, one of the big issues that happens right now with like Magic the Gathering is, let's say I have a $100 card, okay? I don't need that card anymore and I want to sell it or I want to get a different card. If I go to a card shop, you know, they already have card shops notoriously have a hard time struggling with finance anyway because, you know, they might have 3 customers a day and maybe one of those customers buys something. So when I go to sell them a $100 card, even if it's in prime mint condition, they're going to give me $5 for it because, you know, they have to turn a profit. As for if I was to trade that with, let's say you, Michael, me being a single trader and you being a single trader, I'm going to expect you to give me $100 of value in exchange for my card. So the problem with this is, Mike, let's say you don't want this $100 card I have. My only option is to sell it to the card shop for only 5% of its value. And that's really a problem. As for with trading on either the DEX or using swap bots, this is really cool because now let's say I have, let's say my XCP card I have on Moonga. Let's say I don't want that anymore. I don't have to sell it to a card shop that's only going to give me 5% of its value. I can find someone somewhere in the world and I can get its full value for it. So those are really the three big things that I like about the online trading card game in comparison to the existing physical card games.
Shaban, so Robert touched on it in the aspects of trading that he discussed, and that is you combine the cryptocurrency with the game portion. Can you talk a bit about why did you do that, and what led you to that decision?
I learned about Bitcoin, and firstly, I discovered Bitcoin on a purely speculative way. I thought, oh, that's cool. This is something. The price is rising, and I should get some. And the more I learned about Bitcoin, and the more I got completely astonished, completely transported by all the possibility the blockchain offers. And it's about digital ownership. So when you own a Bitcoin, you really own it. And it's the first time in history, if I can say, or the history I know, that you can own something on internet and can have a specific value because it's unique or it has specific properties. If you think about games asset in general, so for example for Munga, like it was and it is still now, the cards are on our database. So when a player logins and purchase a card, the card is on our database. And we saw in Munga some player trading cards for real money, even if it was not allowed by our rules. So under the table, they trade real money, and in game they do a trade with the game currency for a ridiculous price. And when something goes wrong, they contact the support, and you put the blockchain in the equation. You can give to player the full ownership of their cards. So then they can trade, sell, do whatever they want with their card, just like the real cards, real trading cards. And what is very exciting in physical objects and real trading cards is the fact that when you purchase something, you hold it. So it's something that stays in your patrimony, and you can give it to someone, you can trade it to someone without any intermediaries saying no, you can't because this is our property and not yours. So the blockchain give this incredible ability, and it is the perfect fit for a trading card game, a game online, because when someone buys a card, then he will own the card. He will be proud of the card, so he will show to their to his friends. He will be an advocate of the game, and he will do a lot of activity online to trade, to play. And as Robert said, it opens a world where you can trade instantly with anyone in the world. So that's very exciting of having the asset on the blockchain.
So now I want to bring in Nick. Nick, can you give us an overview of how you're involved?
Well, with Spelsogenesis, basically, we are advising Shaban and the team. We also do marketing for them in terms of mainly PR. So we try to publish articles on Bitcoin media. And, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. When I say marketing, Vambex doesn't only provide marketing skills, provides a whole series of opportunities for the project. We know crypto pretty well, and so anything a project requires, from going to to host a token sale, we are able to suggest, provide even a platform. In this case, we helped with with the platform itself, which is also in partnership with Shapeshift. We did the design for the website, and we make sure that it's there. We keep it updated, and there's a lot of day-to-day activity that goes onto our team channels. There's a lot to do on forums. There's a lot to do on social media. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to do when you have a project like Genesis that wants to be recognized and wants to catch the attention of the community. So at Vanbex, we help with all of that. Of course, Shaban has got their own team. They have their own team members that take care of marketing, development, and all the rest. We do provide advice for each one of those job roles, let's say. We are not too much into the development part. That's mainly because of Genesis, but anything to do with promoting the project and getting it to be known out there, that's what we do best.
That's great, Nick. I think your company has done a good job, because I have seen several media outlets talking about the Spell of Genesis game, and particularly the crowd sale. So a question to Shaban about the crowd sale. Initially, I noticed when I first heard of Spells of Genesis that you are going to be launched on Quantify, but then recently I saw that you changed to Shapeshift. Can you talk about the reason for that?
So the idea of making a crowd sale is very interesting for us, because we are producing BitCrystal, who is the premium game currency of Spells of Genesis. And with this currency, you can get all the game assets that come out. So what is very interesting doing a crowd sale is we cut the middleman, the producer, the game producer, because people owning the BitCrystal is like owning a part of the game. So all the different people are owning like a piece of Spells of Genesis, and since they own a piece of Spells of Genesis, a piece of all the game's asset, they are doing the publishing work. So they are the enthusiasts. They are going to talk to their friend. They are going to do the communication and the marketing. So it's really a product by the community for the community, and only the Bitcoin system, the blockchain system, if I can say, can allow that. So that's why we decided to do a crowd sale, not just selling cards for Bitcoin or other currency, but to have a real crowd sale. And we went with Coinify, because Coinify is trusted platform, and they have a good system where you have people holding multi-signature and milestones, and they guarantee all this. And since we are a Swiss company, and we like things to be nicely done, secure, we decided to work with Coinify because we love their approach of doing a crowd sale. The problem is they stopped their activity, so they are not doing crowd sale anymore because they was lacking new project coming in. That's very sad. There is so much to do with crypto, but not a lot of people is aware of that. So then we had to change the platform, and we decided to host it ourselves and to collaborate with Shapeshift to accept many different currencies. Because even in the game Spells of Genesis, we have all this Bitcoin character. It's an allegory of the Bitcoin and the crypto economy ecosystem. So we have the Ethereum card, we have the counterparty card, and other are coming, the dwarf miners, and all this thing is allegorically represented in Spells of Genesis. And all these different currencies also, we wanted to accept them and to empower other group, other currency to identify themselves as a guild or as a part of the game universe as well.
The magic word for this episode is Genesis. That's Genesis. Log on to letstalkbitcoin.com to receive your reward. Now, back to the show. For our listeners that may not know what a crowd sale is, can you just explain?
So simply a crowd sale is it's like a crowdfunding, like on Kickstarter. On Kickstarter, for example, I will call it the old model. In Kickstarter, you present a project, a company present a project idea, and then people might back these projects by giving money. And then those people, the backers, receive T-shirts, they will receive the products, they will receive some new characters in the game, etc. So this is the old model of doing crowdfunding. And the crowd sale, the idea is to deliver things that are registered on the blockchain. Since things on the blockchain are owned by the purchaser, he will be able to trade the asset. So in our case, it's BitCrystal. So the crowd sale, people are purchasing a currency with the BitCrystal. That's the game currency. And this BitCrystal, there is a limited number, 100 million. There will be no more. So this means the whole game economy will be represented by this BitCrystal supply. So people who purchase it at the beginning, they will get a part lifetime of the whole game. So then there will be the evangelists. They're gonna tell their friends, they're gonna invite their friend to play the game, and they are gonna share a part of the BitCrystal they have or the character they had at the beginning, and the card will be more demanded and more valuable.
Okay. And also, I saw on the site that you offer 2 different partner levels. What are they, and why were they needed?
So that's the very interesting point about having games asset on blockchain is the fact that people can resell your asset. And this is very new. If you take all other games, you have no way or limited way to be a reseller of in-app purchases. So it's very difficult to sell a sword from World of Warcraft to someone else without doing some transaction in the game itself. With Spells of Genesis, we cannot refrain anyone to resell our game asset. So what we do, instead of trying to keep all the sell for ourselves and limit people to sell our own game asset, we are putting partnership plans. So people who spend more than a threshold, for example, there will be partner. It's like a reseller in the physical object. So they will have advantages. They will have discounts. So they will be able to purchase those cards before the others. For example, for the partner grade, they will have new stuff coming out 1 month prior to the other, and they will have, depending on the level, some discount. So this way, they will be able to create their own shops and sell own digital shops and sell game asset as it would happen in a real life. So it gives a significant advantage for people who believed in the project in the beginning and who gave some Bitcoin for BitCrystals.
Robert, can you talk about the 2 partner levels and why, as a player of the game, why that could be important for you to leverage?
So that would be really cool to have access to a card basically before everybody else. The reason being is because that could kind of get you a leg up on getting a rare card. You know, for example, the Satoshi card right now, which, by the way, I'm the very first person who got one. I'm really proud of that. The Satoshi card, Spells of Genesis did a couple flash sales to where they basically gave out the Satoshi card randomly before this current BitCrystals crowd sale, and only like 4 or 5 people got it, I think. With the partner rewards, you can actually get more Satoshi cards, and there's only going to be 200 available. Now, I see the Satoshi card kind of like Magic the Gathering's Black Lotus card. You know, this is the card that could be extremely valuable one day because It's super rare, and odds are it's going to be a really good card to use in the game. And having early access to limited edition cards can really be the difference between winning and losing a tournament, because if you want to win a tournament, you really have to have the best cards. Now, somebody who's just kind of an entry level player and is kind of playing with their friends, they could get a starter deck and they could just have fun with their friends. It's still a great game. But if you enter into a tournament, you got to have a deck that's worth some money. So like my last deck that I entered in my last tournament, which I think was like 2 years ago, I haven't done a tournament in a while. The deck I was playing with was worth about $800. That's a cardboard that's worth $800. That's crazy. So having access to get those cards before everybody else is great, because in my $800 Magic the Gathering deck, I specifically remember there's like 4 or 5 cards that I really needed in that deck that I just couldn't find, because, Magic works kind of like Mungo, to where some cards are just limited edition and, there's only X amount out there. And so getting those cards is really, really crucial. For the player rewards, though, those aren't bad too, because, and Shaban, correct me if I'm wrong, the partner rewards, they basically get first access to the cards, and then the player rewards, they're the premium store access, they get basically second dibs on the same cards. Is that correct?
Yeah, the premium store hold different cards. So some card will be not available anywhere else than the premium store. And the partner store will also hold those, but with 1 month's advantage before the others.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so see that would be having the 1 month leg up is really, really good. Still with the player rewards, that's still a really good advantage to have it even a month after the partners, because they might not sell up in the partner stores, but if they do, then the people who are in the partner stores, even if they didn't want that card, they have the advantage of having a card that they can basically decide the market value on. Because that's kind of the weird thing about these trading card games is, unlike other things like cars and houses that go up and down in value, there's basically like over amount of time, there's like a set value that gets determined for these cards, and they kind of just retain that value. And so, for example, with Magic the Gathering, the Black Lotus card, okay, that's considered the most powerful card in the Magic the Gathering game of all time, and it has a value, an average one has a value of about $5,000. And the weird thing about this card is you can't even use it in the Magic the Gathering game anymore. I can't go to a tournament and have a Black Lotus in my deck, because they're now an illegal card, because they're really, really good. But even though you can't use it in the game, they're still worth $5,000. So if you can get these cards when they're brand new, so like if I have access to the partner store, I may be able to buy a card for maybe $100. And then once the cards sell out, their market value may go up to $2,000. And even if you can't use the card anymore, collectors still like to have them, because, it's all about collecting everything. It's kind of like Pokemon, which I also played, and gotta collect them all. Is there a reason? No, but you just want them all because it's awesome.
That's pretty interesting. I have a question for Nick on this. With your consulting with Shaban and EverdreamSoft, how are you trying to get the casual gamer, for a person like myself that doesn't play trading card games, how would you appeal to me?
Well, that's an easy answer. When you look at the crypto space, there are many people that are involved mainly for speculation. So when you look at the card assets, especially the limited edition ones, they're very interesting for a broader public, not only the gamer that wants to play in the game, but also for collectors in general. People collect stamps, people collect football stickers, people collect baseball stickers. So all sorts of things. That doesn't necessarily mean that they play baseball or they play football. They just do it because it's something they're passionate about. And the fact the limited edition situation about those cards is attractive to many people. In the crypto space in particular, people buy, speculators buy coins mainly because they believe that eventually they will go up in value. So there's a new coin that come out today, whatever they're trying to do with their coin, they say, oh, it's pretty cheap, I'll buy it. God knows, maybe in 2 months it might be worth more. Same with those cards, when you have only 200 cards available for the Satoshi card, which is which is Pelzogenesis' most rare card, people will just buy it, thinking that I buy it now for 0.3 of a Bitcoin. In 2 months or in 3 months, when Pelzogenesis is out, and there's gonna be, like, let's say 10,000 player or 20,000 player or 500,000 player, and there's only 200 cards. What are the chances that the card is gonna go up in value? And I believe that the chances are really high, and that's why those cards are selling they're selling very, very well. So yeah, that's the way we are marketing it, or the way that we're trying to attract people to it. It just does it by itself, especially in the crypto space, where people is always trying to make a profit on, with little money, try to make a little bit more.
Well, I can tell you that strategy worked, because I purchased some in the crowd sale myself. I saw it as an opportunity because I don't understand the game. I haven't played it, but I did see a lot of interest. And so from a supply-demand equation, it seemed as if it was going to be profitable in the future. So I said, hey, let me give it a try. Well, now at this point, I have a couple panel questions, and either of you can respond to the question. And the first question is, why do you think pairing crypto and video games is a big deal?
In my opinion, the big deal is that by pairing a video game, and especially the assets of the video game, pairing them with a blockchain, with an asset that, in this case, with counterparty. So it's an asset that is immutable. Once cards are released and once bit crystals are released, there's a set number. Basically, what you're doing, you are actually getting the owners of these assets, either bit crystals or those cards, to be the real owners of these items, so they can basically sell them. They can exchange them. They can do basically whatever they want with them. Even if they're not players, as I mentioned before, they can keep them for a while, wait until they go up in price, or simply, they can buy 2 or 3 of one card if they're lucky enough that they have the opportunity, and then basically, sell a couple or exchange them for other cards that are going to come out in the future, which they can't afford, or they don't want to spend money for buying them. But because they have these previous cards, which have raised in value, they can just simply exchange them or trade them, or whatever they prefer. Same with bit crystals. By having bit crystals, if you understand the way bit crystals work, basically bit crystals are going to be used for purchasing cards after the token sale. You can only purchase assets or in-game items with bit crystals. So once the token sale is finished, whoever owns bit crystals owns part of the game. So you are actually giving people ownership of part of the economy.
I will add, very important part is, we saw with the Swapbot Tokenly, people will be able to exchange card for hard disk space. For example, we made a partnership with Sorjay. So basically what you own in the game, you can trade for anything else. So for example, the hard disk space, or digital media, advertisement space, or even you could imagine that you go to your favorite store and you want to buy a panini, and then you look at your whole asset collection and you say, what can I give for a panini? So you can, for example, give a game asset, and even if the a shop owner is not a player, he might accept it because this has a value, and he can directly swap it to another thing, swap it to Bitcoin, or swap it to discount on his supplier, for example. So giving this gives an infinite way of trading game asset, but not only game, anything else with the international market.
Now, on this question, I want each of you to answer, and we'll start first with Robert, then Shaban, and then Nick lastly. Do you think that you were born a business owner, or did you grow or evolve into becoming one?
So I think a little mixture of both. I didn't really see myself as, running a project or running a company or anything like that, but I've always kind of been interested in management. Most every job I've had since high school, I've been in some sort of management or entry management level. My job I was at for a decade, a company called Vertec here in Indianapolis, I was a project field manager for about maybe 6 of the 10 years that I was there. And I definitely evolved into being a really good leader. I guess over time, I think I am a natural born leader. I think I do have the skills, but and that's natural born leader is really a good requirement for being a business owner or a project lead or anything like that. But it definitely, throughout my early adult life, I definitely evolved into gaining those skills by being taught by people who were of higher management level than me, which gave me the skills to be able to run a project, which I think is going pretty well. It's my first project I'm running on my own, but I think it's going pretty well so far.
All right. Thank you. Next.
So for my part, I will say it's driven by the vision. The vision is very important to be an entrepreneur, I think. When you have this vision and you see how you can change things, how you can innovate, then you have to do something. And if you don't move your own company, or you are dependent to old school company, you cannot achieve that, and that's refrain you to sleep, because you really need to see it alive. So then in that case, this vision push you, and then people are following you because you have this vision. And that's the way I became entrepreneur. So I had to learn a lot. It's not like I thought I want to be an entrepreneur. It's just I wanted to have a card game on internet like 10 years ago, because I saw it as a big opportunity. Then I saw opportunity on mobile gaming, so I wanted to do something, and we were the first card game on iOS. And then today, what drives me is I want to have this digital asset, and I see a bright future for it. So this vision pushed me always among difficulties or challenges to achieve that.
Thank you for that. Nick?
Well, more than an entrepreneur, I consider myself an advisor. I'm apart from Vanbex, which is my main activity, thanks to Lisa Cheng, which is the founder and director. Through Vanbex, I'm able to work on a number of different projects, learn from them, get involved with them, and so it's it's a really interesting job. Apart from that, I'm also a team member on a number of crypto projects, namely Pactum, Storage, Scenario, and Swarm. And I'm also a writer for Brave New Coin. So the way my history, I've done my studies in computer science, then I moved from Italy. I'm originally Italian. I moved from Italy to London in the UK. And then I worked for the Financial Times for 15 years. And I was an IT specialist there for 15 years. And I got to a point where it was a little bit too long for me to work for a place, and I wanted to do something different. Then Bitcoin came out. I was a miner originally. Then mining became not that profitable unless you invest too much money in it. And so then I started getting involved with different projects. The first project was Storage. Then I went on to Factom. Then I joined Bambex. Then I joined Scenario, and then Swarm. And I collaborate with a lot of other projects. I help out on the Counterparty Foundation as well. So for me, it's mainly learning as much as I can about all these projects, and helping out where I can. And, in the future, possibly be an advisor.
Well, that's great. I appreciate the time of you all answering those questions. Here's a portion in the show where we ask some different questions just to let our listeners learn a little bit more about you. What are you all passionate about other than the businesses that you're helping out or running?
So I'll go ahead and start that one because I like that question. So actually, the answer for me is really nothing. Since I've been involved in Bitcoin, it has just consumed my life. I know I got involved about 2.5 years ago, and for about a year, just like Nicola, I was a miner, and I was a miner for about a year and a half until I started folding coin, and then I started getting involved in Counterparty, and it's really all I do. I mean, I still work a little bit at my old job to bring in some money. I'm working there. Some months I work 4 days a week. Some months I work 2 days a week. It just depends on their needs. So like in July, I was 4 days a week. Now here in August, I'm only 2 days a week. Every minute of my free time is just passionately about Bitcoin and Counterparty and folding coin. I really don't hang out as much anymore. You know, I'm kind of the guy when I go to the bar with everyone, they're like, oh, here's Bobby. He's going to talk about Bitcoin or politics. And so really that is my passion. You know, I kind of, you know, what I was known for in my early 20s by my other friends is I was always trying different projects and getting involved in things. So like I started a charity here in Indianapolis years ago that was helping other charities develop websites. I was a IT admin for the Red Cross for a little bit in a Michigan chapter. And, you know, I've tried to do some other little ventures. I keep throwing stuff against the wall and, you know, nothing I was really too passionate about. Bitcoin, I've been on for 2.5 years, and there's really no turning back for me. You know, I've found my passion in life, and that's cryptocurrency.
So to answer the question, same like Robert. I don't have much free time, so running a company is very demanding. So the thing I'm very passionate about these days, of course, is all this cryptocurrency scene, Bitcoin and stuff. So I always learn more and get the information and see how and where it is going. I'm also passionate about games, and I will say IT in general. So, but these days, what drives me through is all this innovation around the blockchain. So that's keeps me awake in the night.
Okay, Nick.
Well, you know, you should expect that from three people that are working pretty much with Bitcoin and blockchain. These are going to be the kind of answers you're going to get. I'm the same as the other two. And, you know, I'm very passionate about blockchain and Bitcoin, all these different projects. You know, being a part of so many projects is very demanding for me as well. You know, I sleep on a medium 3 to 4 hours a night. And I just continuously work. Since I left my day job, I resigned the Financial Times in May. And I thought, you know, by leaving my day job, I'm going to have some more spare time for myself. And how wrong was I? You know, the more time I have, the more I spend it doing, you know, helping out on all these different projects. One thing I'm passionate about is, and because I see where this is going, some of the projects are trying to empower people, the normal people, not the 1% that owns the riches, you know, of the world. So my main aim in life, or you know, for what I do in this space, is to leave the world a better place than I found it. So basically, like storage is trying to decentralize cloud storage to make, you know, cloud storage a very private and secure place where to store your personal data. Factom is trying to make record keeping transparent for everybody, for banks, for countries, for, you know, places where they keep records about, you know, legal issues or, you know, land title records and all sorts of things like that. Scenario is trying to decentralize social network. Facebook sells your data. Facebook makes money out of your data. The marketers that uses Facebook, they have access to private personal information that shouldn't be happening. And Scenario is trying to put a stop on that. Swarm as well is trying to make funding of projects, you know, a more fair experience for everybody, allowing everybody to be able to raise money for a project for whatever they believe in. And with all this, I'm trying to write as well for Brave New Coin, trying to write about the projects that I like more, or you know, whatever comes up in the news, and we try to give an objective view of you know, what we are trying to write about. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we all are very passionate about blockchain and Bitcoin. I can say there is something I like apart from this is traveling. I haven't traveled much the last couple of years because I've been so involved with these things. But traveling is one thing that really does it for me. And every time I travel, I like to discover new places, new cultures, new people. And it's a very fascinating experience all the time.
Well, guys, I think we'll wrap up there. I thank you all for your time. Is there anything that you all would like to share with our listeners and give us contact information for each of you?
Sure. On my part, I will say I thank you very much for what we leave now. We raised 700 Bitcoin so far, and we have also a lot of people who are very interested in what we're doing, and I love working with this kind of people, early adopters, people who are into this technology, who are enthusiasts. And we got a lot of enthusiasm around us. And this really drives me and the team at EverdreamSoft. So I want to thank everyone to be part of this, to work on those crypto space. That's really really awesome. There is a lot of beautiful projects that I follow, and I'm hoping to see more. So yeah, I want to thank everyone for their hardship on this, and thanks Nick for helping us on this a lot, who really helped us, and Robert also with Folding Coin. The project is beautiful, so that Robert was our first partner in card distribution, because Folding Coin is really amazing, and yeah, so that's pretty much. I'm very excited.
One thing I would like to add, just to kind of give people more of an insight from a Magic player. I'm looking at the crowd sale right now for Bit Crystals, and this is amazing. It's at exactly at the time of this recording, it's at 730.9 Bitcoin raised. And you know what's really cool about this is it's only from 206 backers. Now, 206 backers, that's a lot of people, but if you do the math, that's like 3.5 Bitcoin per person that are actually giving to make this project happen. And the reason why I want to bring up that point is because I want to re-emphasize, when it comes to trading card games, the interest, as in percentage of people in the world, is really low. You know, not that many. I don't really know many Magic Gathering players, but with lower interest comes much higher demand. Assets and cards like these can be worth a fortune. I mean, you got 200 people that are willing to spend an average of 3.5 Bitcoin for this project. If you look at some of the other crowd sales that are happening, you have a lot of backers, but each person's like, you know, I'll give like 0.2 Bitcoin to this, and if it fails, it fails. If it doesn't, it doesn't. With Spells of Genesis, people are willing to actually give a lot of Bitcoins because they know that games like this attain value, in my opinion. So then my contact information, it's all over the internet. I'm rross@foldingcoin.net. Feel free to contact me, anybody, if you have any counterparty questions. I am a community director for Counterparty, and I appreciate what Shaban is doing in the space. I didn't think when I first entered Counterparty that a trading card game was going to be one of the coolest projects in the space, and being built on Counterparty just makes me really happy. It's a fantastic project, and also thanks for Nick. I see him all over the place. Like he said, he's involved in so much stuff. Every time I enter a new chat room, he's of course already there. So thanks, Nick, for being really active in the space. So anybody feel free to contact me with counterparty advice, or if you just want to kind of chit-chat about Folding Coin.
Yes, I'm excited as well about Spells of Genesis. One thing in particular is that whenever I talk about Spells of Genesis, you have to understand the most focus on the Bitcoin space is towards fintech and financial payments, opportunities. While when you have a game like Spells of Genesis, that is getting into the space, people are very excited because it's something different, it's something original, and that's why I believe the support is coming, because people are like, oh wow, there's something new that people is using Bitcoin or blockchain for. So this is pretty exciting. For what I can say, for what I do, if you have a crypto project and you need a little bit of help, advice, marketing or PR, just feel free to reach out at Vanbex Group. The email address is pr@vanbex.com. Again, pr@vanbex.com, and we'll see what we can do for you.
Thank you all for listening to this episode of The Startup. Contents for the show was provided by Shaban, Robert, Nick, and Michael. If you are a founder of a startup and would like to be on the show, please email Michael at mikepair@gmail.com. That's MikePair@gmail.com.